Oke, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hello and good morning. Thank you for coming. And my name is Nur Fajrin Nuneto. Today I'm going to present you about the nature, approaches, method in language teaching. First of all, in the nature of approaches and method in language teaching, we have to know the definition of language. As we know that language is an important phenomenon in our life. And first, I will explain you about the definition of language. There are two definitions of language. First is language is a system or arbitrary verbal symbol used for human communication. And according to Wardow in 1973, in pages 3, she said that language is a systematic phenomenon of communicating ideas and our feelings by use sign centralized and then sound, gesture, or marks that can make having understood meaning. And next, there are deducative learning of grammar and inducative learning of grammar. First is deducative learning of grammar. This is an approach to language in which learners are taught rules and given specific information about the language. And they apply these rules when they use language. For example, in the grammar translation method, specific grammar rules are given to the learners and practice subsequently follows to familiarize students with the rule. And then the feature of it are to saving and suitable for adult learners who can over abstract thinking. Next is the inducative learning of grammar. In inducative learning of grammar, this is an approach to language learning in which learners are not taught grammatical or the rules directly, but language in this inducative learning of grammar, language teaching methods which emphasize use the language rather than presentation of information about the language include the direct method. And the next is performance and competence. I will explain you about performance and competence first. The communication is approach and counseling learning. The feature of it are time-consuming and applicable to young learners in natural settings such as English second language context. And then performance. Performance is a person's actual use of language and how a person use the language itself. And then acquisition versus learning. Before that, people may have the competence to produce a long sentence but when they actually use the knowledge, they are restrict it. And for example, they may run out the too long sentences, but they forget the sentence. Due to performance, this factor is such as fatigue, lack of attention, nervousness, or excitement. And then their actual use language may not reflect their competence, their errors they make are described as an example of performance itself. And then acquisition and learning. In acquisition, we know that acquisition is the process by which people naturally develop proficiency in the language. Beside it, learning is the process by which people formally develop language proficiency. And then there are form versus function. As we know, form is the cyclic characteristic of a thing in the language used. A linguistic form is like the and imperative. And then function is a linguistic form can perform a variety of different functions. I will give you example about form and function. For example, in sentence watch out. Watch out can be the form of the sentences, and watch out is mean warning. So warning can be the function. Other example is, for example, go out from the class. It means that go out from the class is the form, and go out from the class it means interjection. So that interjection is the function, and then pass the salt. The pass the salt means the form, and the function is the yes, yeah, like that. And then approaches, methods, procedure, and technique. Approach. First, I will explain you about the approach. Approach refers to the theories about nature of language and language learning that serve as the sources of practices and principles in language teaching. It offers a model of language competence, and approach describes how people acquire their knowledge about language, and it makes statement about condition that language will promote successful. And next is method. Method is the practical realization of technique as part of their standard fare. And then next is procedure. Procedure is an ordered sequence of techniques, and as procedure is a sequence which can be described in terms such as first you do this and then you do that, and smaller than a method and bigger than technique. Technique is a common when you are using videos or materials. Then the teacher plays the video with the sound, and silent viewing is a single activity rather than a sequence, and as such is a technique rather than a whole procedure. And then there are the elements and supplements of the method itself. First is approach. Approach means the assumption and beliefs about language and teaching learning. The design in element and supplement of method, there are the design such as the objectives, syllabus, activities, rules of teacher, rules of learners, and also the materials. For the procedure, it means that the implementation phase, so that a method is theoretically related to an approach, is organizationally determined by a design, and is practically related procedure. For next is view on language. There are different view on language. First is structural views, and then communicative views, and the last is the interactive views. For structural views, it sees language as a linguistic system made up of various subsystems from phonological, morphological, lexical, and etc. to sentence. Each language has a finite number of such structural items to learn a language, and then it means that to learn these structural items to be able and to understand and produce language. And then it's functional view. Functional view is this language as a linguistic system, but also as means for doing things. Function activities such as offering, suggesting, advising, apologizing, and etc. And to perform this function, learners need to know how to combine the grammatical rules and vocabulary to express notion that perform to the function. That's about a communicative view. And the last is interactive views. In interactive use, it means that language is a communicative tool, the use of which is to build up and maintain social relation between people. And learners not only need to know the grammar and vocabulary of the language, but also they need to know the rules for using them in a whole range of communication. Well, that's all about my presentation. I hope this presentation will be very useful for you. And if you have any question, I will appreciate it, please. Okay?
Me?
Okay, thank you. Please.
Okay, thank you. My question is about when contextual teaching language is formed. Thank you.
You mean communicative language?
Yes, communicative.
Okay, there are any questions more? Me? Okay, please.
Thank you. My question is there any kind of strategy to teach language?
Strategy to teach
language.
Okay, first is the communicative language. Communicative language are found in the changes in the British language teaching and tradition dating from the last in 1960 century. That's the communicative language are found. And then for other strategy, yes, there are strategy to teach language. Exactly. There are several strategy or methodology that can be used as a teacher to teach language itself. Just like grammar, translation, code, diagram, flow, and then audiolingualism, and then communicative teaching language, and then silent way, and then the last is suggestopedia. That's all. And thank you very much.